Good morning, everybody. So a little 2.5 years ago, I flew to Raleigh, Carolina, to meet Jim Rutherford at his home. And he introduced me to his wife, Leslie, and she prepared this beautiful charcuterie board. I remember that, and it was very warm and welcome. I felt very welcomed, and I kind of knew it was going in the right direction. And so we sat down and we talked about hockey. We talked about the Canucks challenges that they were facing at the time, and what was needed to get the club going in the right direction. When Jim decided that he was up for the challenge, we were thrilled. He came here with a vision and an unwavering commitment to make this team competitive again. So from revamping the hockey operations completely, bringing in Patrick Alvin as the general manager, securing Rick and his coaching staff. Jim has fostered a culture of accountability and performance. Today, we sit here, first overall in the league, and we have 5 players and our coach going to the All-Star game. Somebody told me that the last time that happened was the 1989 Oilers. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but that's quite impressive. So there's still a lot of hockey to be played, but it's fun to be a Vancouver Canuck fan, and it's fun to be a Vancouver Canuck player again. Jim's vision, his relentless desire to improve this club, has put us on the right track. So on behalf of my family, it's my pleasure to announce a 3-year extension of Jim Rutherford as the President of Hockey Operations. And we're looking forward to having the Canucks continue to progress under Jim's leadership. Thank you, and I'll just hand it over to you, Jim.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Francesco. I'm looking forward to the future here with the Canucks. We've made some progress, but we still have a ways to go. But I want to thank Francesco for the working relationship that we have. Thank the Aquilini family for how I've been treated, how my family's been treated here. And there's a lot of people to thank for the hard work and the dedication that helped me make this decision. It starts with Patrick. Patrick Alvin is a very knowledgeable hockey guy and very knowledgeable worldwide, understands the European market, understands the North American market. He's put together a good staff that's aligned from top to bottom. When I say top to bottom, from ownership right through our hockey organization. I'd like to thank the coaches for the plan they put in place and to give the players an opportunity to succeed. And really important, thank the players, because they bought into the plan, they bought into the system, they've been dedicated, they've worked at it, they've stuck to it. And when I first came here, one of the things I said is I think we have some players that are probably better than people think. And now this has come to light. We're in a year now where we have a good system, and the players that are the impact players are even more impactful than they've ever been in their careers here in Vancouver. And I'm very proud of the guys that made the All-Star game, very well-deserved. And I want to thank the fans of the Vancouver Canucks. They're very dedicated, they're very knowledgeable. And it's really been fun for me over these last couple of years as I'm out in the public and able to talk to these people and get an understanding of their frustrations and what they're hoping for. And we all have the same goal, and we're continuing to work towards that goal. And like I said, we're not there yet, even though we've made progress. Progress with the team, with the big team, the Canucks, progress with Abbotsford, progress with their prospects. We have more prospects coming now that we really like. So we sit in a good place, but as I said, we got work to do. Questions?
Jim, congratulations.
Thank you.
At a moment like this, I'm sure you get to sort of look back on the work that you've done and the progress that's been made here with the organization. How do you reflect on that, and how does the work that you guys have put in already inform what you would like to do to continue to build and grow this team to the level you want to get it to?
Yeah, well, you know, there were a lot of changes made early on, and they weren't fun. You know, I didn't take them lightly. There were people that had been in the organization for some time, and, you know, there were changes made for different reasons. And, you know, I don't necessarily feel good about that, but it was necessary at the time. And so with all the changes made, one of the things that I felt that we didn't have a team. We had a lot of good players, but we didn't have a team. But now we have a team. They bought into, the players and the coaches have bought into the team concept. And when you have a team that buys into what the system is and you play it, whether you win 5 in a row or you lose 5 in a row, you're going to be okay. And that's what this team has done. Now we're just through the first half. We've had a good first half, but it'll be very challenging in the second half. You know, teams are going to bring their A game every night. You know, we're not going to see backup goalies. It's a whole different thing. And but I believe our team's going to be up to that challenge.
And, you know, you talk about the team identity that's been developed here. How careful do you have to be when you look to potentially improve this group ahead of the trade deadline, understanding that dynamic that you've built here, that you make the right changes, bring in the right people, those sorts of things?
Well, you can make the right changes and it can still not work. So there's a risk in it. But there's also a risk in not trying to improve the team when you get to a certain level. And I've seen that with teams where I say, wow, that team's pretty good, and then they don't do anything. So that's what we talk about. We've been talking about that for a month now within our hockey operations, trying to decide what we want to do. But Patrick has said this, and this is what we say in meetings. This group of players and coaches deserve the best opportunity they can to compete going forward. And that's what we talk about every day, and we have to make a decision on.
Jim, in your role now with Patrick, you obviously had a great relationship going into this, but now with him as a general manager, what are you learning about Patrick in this role that he's, you know, gone up from being an assistant and working with scouting now to being a GM? What have you learned about how he's taken on that challenge?
Well, he gets more comfortable as each week goes by. You know, there's a lot to that job, whether you're starting in it or you've been in it a long time. And there's something you have to deal with on a regular basis. And our relationship is very strong. We communicate every day. We talk about lots of things, even wild things that you couldn't imagine that you'd be talking about. But what's really good about him is he has a strong supporting cast that he's put together, that he trusts and he works with. And he gets out there and works it himself. You know, he goes to Europe to the tournaments, and he goes to as many games on the road with the Canucks, and he's a very hard-working, knowledgeable hockey guy.
And Francesco, we hear a lot about the Abbotsford Canucks and the changes and having an AHL team this close. How important was that to you to be able to bring the AHL team just down the highway here?
That was great. I mean, you know, having them only an hour away, I mean, helps in multiple fronts, you know, like call-ups. I mean, they're just an hour away. I think, you know, the market here for the fans, you know, people get to see the future Canucks out in the valley. I think it's overall just something that we're very happy. And, you know, we've got a good long-term lease with Abbotsford, so they're going to be there for a while. And, you know, great. If you want to go see some of the future stars, it's just an hour away. So we're pretty happy about it.
For either of you or both, Jim, a year ago you took a lot of criticism for, you know, how the Bruce thing happened and also the medical stuff as it related to Tanner Pearson. How confident were you that you could turn that whole thing around as fast as you have here?
Well, you know, a person in my position is always going to be criticized. and you know, you deal with different situations. We had to deal with that, and we felt what we did was necessary, and you just go forward from there and talk about the different things, like, in just to make this as simple as I can and as respectful I can. You know, Bruce had a way that he wanted to play that worked for him over his career, and the organization had a different way that we wanted the team to play, and that's why the change was made.
Francesco, you know, did you ever lose faith, you know, when all of that was happening, or how were you able to kind of stay as positive as you were about it all?
Well, I'm generally a positive guy to start with. So I knew that it would blow over eventually, and that, you know, we had total faith in Jim, you know, the way he handled it. I mean, it was you know, it was something that, you know, it happened at the time. I think there was a lot of controversy around it, but, you know, I thought Jim handled it the way he thought how to best handle it. And, you know, we talked about it and totally supported Jim, you know, 100%.
Francesco, just a question about the timing here. Yeah. To get this deal done now, 6 weeks out from the deadline, was that important to you to have stability going into a pretty crucial opportunity for your club?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's something that we talked about. You know, we wanted to get this done. You know, I think we started talking the minute he signed the first contract about extending. You know, I told Jim, you know, I'd like him to stay. You know, it was something he wanted to do and something that we wanted to do. No, we're very excited about that. You know, as a family, my family, you know, my dad, my brother, you know, so now we got this deal done. We're going to talk about the next contract, you know.
And for Jim, there were a series of press conferences almost 12 months ago leading up to you hiring Rick. And in the 12 months since, your team's played 81 games, 108-point pace over those games. How crucial has his contributions been in permitting your sort of vision for this club to become the reality we're seeing on the ice at the moment?
Well, it's played a huge part, and part of making that change last year, we said it at the time, was we wanted the coach to have a head start on this season as to putting in his system and getting the players to understand what he expected from them and the work ethic and different things. So that was important to do it at that point in time, and then he worked very hard telling the players what he wanted in the off season to come in and be prepared for camp. We had a really strong camp, him preaching the system and preaching what he wanted to do and accountability. And as everybody's seen, it doesn't matter whether you're the top player on the team or the bottom player in the lineup, he makes everybody accountable. And I really, really respect that consistency when you do that with players. So our coach, Rick Tocchet, and the staff has had a huge impact on where we are today.
Francesco, when you look back to your visit 2 years ago, what was most important, you think, in selling this organization to Jim?
Well, I think, you know, Jim, you know, the record speaks for itself. I mean, you know, 3 Stanley Cups, a Hall of Fame, definitely, you know, his experience and his knowledge of the game is you know, second to none in my opinion. And so I think, you know, when Jim and I talked about this, I think, you know, the fans of Vancouver really deserved to, you know, for the organization to succeed, and changes needed to be made. And that's what Jim and I talked about, you know, the fans. It was really about the fans and the city. And, you know, we can see now that, you know, we're having some success, how excited people are. And Jim thought that was something he wanted to do. He wanted to do something for the fans. And, you know, we had been struggling for a number of years, and Jim definitely felt up to the challenge.
And you know, you mentioned success. You had some success early on in your time as owner.
Yeah.
How do things now, you think, compare to what the vibe was like then? What, you know, is there a difference?
I mean, it's different. I mean, it's different. You know, I think, you know, the 2010, 2011 team, you know, it was a different time. I think this is very similar. I think, you know, we're on pace maybe to win the President's Trophy. Who knows? Those teams won they won back-to-back President's Trophy. I think in terms of on-ice performance, I mean, they're different players. I think that you know, both teams are great. I mean, we don't know how the season's going to end up, but I mean, I think that's something we can be excited about. I think in 2010, 2011, there was a real buzz around the city about how the team was doing, and you know, I remember going to some of the Southern California trips. You know, it was L.A., Anaheim, and Phoenix, and there were more Canuck fans in the building than there were local fans. I remember that. That was quite impressive, and I think we're starting to get there. I'm looking forward to this next trip in LA, and I think we're going to see a lot of Canuck fans there. You know.
Congratulations, Jim. Would you have felt the same way about re-signing if this were 13 months ago?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough question to ask. But we didn't, we were kidding a little bit about starting to negotiate this contract shortly after the first one I signed, but we've had pretty constant communication about, Francesco and I have, about how long I'm going to stay here. So I would say probably yes, probably because I'm just too stubborn otherwise to look at a tougher situation. So my commitment to Francesco and his family and to the fans of Vancouver was to come here and improve this team. And we've done that, but we know that we still have to improve it more to make it stronger to get to our ultimate goal.
And since it's only 11:18, I'm guessing you haven't been asked yet today about Elias Pettersson. I know the Pats are talking, but for now, he's still waiting.
Yeah.
As an organization, how long can you wait?
My son asked me at 7 o'clock this morning, just for the record. It's because he asks me almost every morning, just like everybody else wants to know. Look, we can wait. I'll say the obvious. We keep saying it over and over. We really want him to stay. He's a very special player. He's very important to the Canucks. He's very important to the city. And he can't walk at the end of the season. And that's the position that we've taken. We've taken it very comfortably. And so there's not anybody getting anxious here. Come the off season, then things will get a lot more serious if in fact the situation gets to that point.
Jeff Patterson.
And I'd just like to add that from an ownership perspective, you know, we really want Elias to stay. I mean, we're hoping that, you know, Jim can come to a conclusion with the agent and Elias, and hopefully we can get that done.
Jim, what fuels you at this stage of your life? You don't need this necessarily. You've had all the success. Francesco outlined your resume there. When you get up in the morning, what is it that fuels you about this job on a daily basis?
What else am I going to do? Yeah. It's the first thing I think about, and I'm being serious. You know, at this point in my life, you know, what do you do with your life? But it's the challenge. You know, I've been driven by the challenge. This is my 42nd year in the National Hockey League. And I've had lots of challenges as a player and lots of challenges as a manager. And, you know, Francesco, he didn't put any sugar on what he told me what the challenges were going to be here when he was asking me to come to Vancouver. And all those challenges that he told me were here, and they're still here. And even as the team gets better, and even if the team can have success over a few years, you're always going to have challenges. And that's really what my life's been all about. I've dealt with challenges over and over, and that's really what drives me.
And Francesco, you touched on it earlier, just the fact that there does sort of feel like the buzz is coming back to town here. Just anecdotally, like, what has that meant to you and to your family to, let's be honest, it's been a dark decade, so to have the season that you're having right now, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, we've been waiting for this for a long time, and it's, you know, it's starting the excitement again. I mean, as owners, you always want to be the owner that brings the cup to the city. That's really you know, every owner's ultimate dream, and that pursuit of the Stanley Cup. That's what it's all about. And you know, as a family, we're committed to it. You know, we're going to do whatever we have to do. You know, we spend to the salary cap. We provide all the support, and you know, my job is to support Jim to whatever he needs. But it's exciting. I mean, you can see it with the fans in the building. The players are excited, and you know, this could be the year. Who knows?
Jim, a year ago at this time, I think everyone would to believe that Canucks would be first overall is quite a jump. Has the success even come faster than you thought it could under Rick?
Yeah, definitely. We're ahead of, in many areas, we're ahead of where I thought we'd be. I talked about the prospect pool, talked about what's going on in Abbotsford, how well those players are being coached and being developed. But for this, as everybody knows, professional sports is hard. The National Hockey League has a lot of parity. And to be sitting where we're sitting here now, yes, I am surprised. But I say that respectfully to the players and the coaches that got us here. And we're here, we earned it, we played the right way, and now we have to continue to do that.
And Francesco, you spend a lot of time with Jim, obviously, that people don't. What is it about this man that just gives you confidence, or just that feeling that, you know, the franchise is in good hands here with this man in charge?
Well, I mean, the results speak for themselves, but I mean, you know, Jim is very knowledgeable. I mean, you know, his resume, and you know, Jim told me he still is up for the challenge, and you know, his thought processes, his commitment to teamwork, you know, his you know, what really surprised me about Jim is his pursuit of excellence. And that's just amazing. I mean, every part of our organization is just at operating at excellent levels, and it's quite impressive. And I'm learning from Jim. You know, it's quite amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Jim, you asked about Petey. I can ask you about Kuzmenko. It's been a tough half season. He's been in and out of the lineup. Sat the third period last night. What do you do?
I don't know what we do more than what the coaching staff's been doing. You know, the talk has worked with him, and the other parts of the coaching staff has worked with him. He's lost his confidence. He's a good player, and he can score. And there's no doubt in my mind, whether it's in Vancouver or in another NHL city, he will score. But it's tough. It's a tough game, and when you have confidence, everything just feels good and it goes right, like it did last year for him. And when you lose your confidence and you start pressing, then it's hard. And I just believe that's where he's at now.
One of the challenges I'm sure you projected to Jim when you first tried to get him to take the job was the lack of a practice facility. I know that's been ongoing. Can you update us at all?
Yeah. So Jim and I have been talking about this, and you know, we've got a few sites identified, and you know, we're making progress in that. We're making a lot of good progress, and you know, it's something that's needed, and I think it's just a matter of time now. We're just waiting for some confirmation, and it's a process. It's going to take time, but we're going to get there.
Jim, last year you assessed this team and said it needed major surgery, and kind of that it was a little bit more than you originally had thought. Now it feels like it's gone the other way. How is your assessment of this team right now when you look back at that last year?
Well, when we started the major surgery with OEL, you know, that's a tough one, and we're going to have to deal with that for a number of years now. But But if we didn't make that change, it wouldn't have given us the opportunity to add some of these players that have been key players for us, you know, the Suitors, the Blugers, guys like that, Susie. So that was the start to that. And, you know, I certainly, by talking about OEL, I'm not pointing the finger at him that it was all his fault where we were a year ago. But we had to open up cap space. It's been difficult the first 2 years, the Caps trying to move contracts out. But we got to a point where we could actually make legitimate changes in major surgery.
And Francesco, a couple answers ago, you mentioned learning from Jim. What are some of those lessons? Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Well, I think, you know, Jim, the way he operates is really consistent with our family values, you know, which is integrity, you know, hard work, discipline, honesty. You know, those are amazing traits, and the character values, and you know, and Jim's competitiveness and his, you know, his determination and his relentlessness, and just the way, you know, how he handles people. It's amazing. I mean, it's quite remarkable, because I mean, it's all about people at the end of the day. I mean, you know, I really believe your success, you know, in anything is, you know, based on your relationship, you know, which you have with people. You know, and I think Jim really understands that, and I'm learning that all the time.